The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
All right, so what did I miss? Did I miss anything important? Anything happen while I was gone? Of course, a lot happened. Every time I go somewhere, a lot happens. You need your voice of reason. You need me to keep things together for you. And I wasn't around, so things just went crazy. I was actually kind of like typing up a little list here of maybe some of the big stories from last week just for me being gone. Of course, the main one we're going to talk about more this morning is the amazing air rescue that happened in Iran yesterday. 2 airmen rescued after their F-15 was shot down. So we'll discuss that. But also, it's just the other stuff that I missed. So I'll try to fix all these. If some of these are problems, I'll try to fix it now that I'm back. But the government shutdown is still happening. This partial government shutdown of Department of Homeland Security. You would have thought that would have been fixed by the time I got back. Nope. Instead, Lindsey Graham is going to Disney World, which is ridiculous. Pam Bondi was fired. Finally, a lot of people thought it was going to happen weeks ago, but it's happened. I like Todd Blanche. Apparently, he's a Democrat, though, so maybe he was fooling us this whole time. Job increase, believe it or not, the jobs report, the economy did much better than expected in the last week. So there are different reasons for that. Looking at Alabama stuff, there was a poll that came out last week, apparently, that showed a dead heat in the Senate race between Barry Moore, Steve Marshall, and Jared Hudson. Doing pretty well. Now, some people don't buy the poll. And then you got candidate Rodney Walker, who most people don't even know. He called the poll fake news. He says he's doing much better. Okay, sure he is. But that poll was kind of interesting. Then the one story that seems to have united the country, and I mean this, I don't know how long it will last, but the mission to the moon, the Artemis liftoff, as they're heading further out in space than any man has ever gone before going around the moon, I saw people on both sides really celebrating this. If there has been one story in the past several years to really unite left and right, Republicans, Democrats, the country, it's some reason going to the moon really unites the country. And I saw a lot of celebration. It's awesome. It's great. Obviously, people listening right now probably were a big part of making sure that happened. But it's a great story. They released pictures, new pictures of the moon that never really been seen before, at least from pictures from men looking at it. So that's a great story. It's a great story. Wonder how long it will last. There are always those. Even when we did the first moon mission in the 60s, there were always those who said it's a waste of money. We should spend that money instead on free healthcare or something. That's usually the response. We should spend it on free healthcare. But that happened while I was gone. Trump cussed on Truth Social. That's not that breaking of a news. So we'll talk about that as well. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all free morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. We'll have the usual stuff as well. Got the Alabama bullet points. Todd Stacey will join me at the bottom of the hour. Have the Sunday news shows recap, where I recap what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. Obviously, Iran was the big story, but we'll talk about that so you don't have to worry about it on Sundays. It was Easter Sunday. You should really take the day off from the news. I kept up with it for you. It's my public service to you. And I'll do Yaffee's Rewind, the Yaffee Program Rewind. We'll do that as well. We'll take your text messages. We have the text line, the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. And I do have a question of the day that I really want to get responses from you. And it's this. Trump is threatening to bomb Iran's energy infrastructure if they don't come up with a deal by tomorrow. So the question to you, honestly, do you think Iran will make a deal by tomorrow? Or do you think Trump will actually go through with ordering strikes against their infrastructure? What do you think is going to happen in the next day or so? Will Iran come to their senses? I'm not so sure. They're running out of time. Will Trump go through with the strikes? I really want to get your take. You can just tell me yes or no if you want, but I'd love to get more than that. So let me know on the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. By the way, I did pull up what Trump had said on Truth Social, which was, I can't say it all in the air, but apparently he said, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the blanking straight, you crazy blanks. You'll be living in hell. Just watch. Then he said, praise be to Allah. Mocking them, I guess. So, obviously, Trump is doing this to send a message. But really, I think Trump doesn't really want to do this. Part of the reason why his rhetoric is so strong, he got so much criticism for cussing and doing all this on Easter. But one of the main reasons why he's doing it like this is because he doesn't really want to bomb their energy infrastructure. He would much rather have a deal. So he thinks if he can really ramp up the rhetoric, really be a little extra crazy, that maybe a deal can be done. Maybe it can get done. That's his strategy. I'm not one who says that Trump always has some kind of grand strategy. But I think in this case, this is part of a strategy. He thinks if he acts a little crazy now, Iran will be scared enough so he won't actually have to bomb their infrastructure. The problem is Iran is crazy too. We're dealing with an enemy that's pretty crazy. So Trump might actually have to bomb their infrastructure. Now, we also have the latest details, and I know you've heard all about it, but I'll give you some more here about what happened where 2 airmen were rescued. According to the Wall Street Journal here, it says, for nearly 2 days, injured and alone, a U.S. aviator hid in a remote mountain crevice as Iranian forces and militias closed in on him with helicopters and drones. God is good, the Air Force colonel had radioed once he reached an elevated ridge, a message that was initially met with suspicion in Washington as a possible Iranian trap, as officials scrambled to verify he was still alive. Now, early Sunday, he heard the heavier roar of U.S. aircraft and barrage of fire as U.S. commandos reached him 200 miles deep inside Iran. As they whisked him to safety, they blew up aircraft stranded on the ground rather than risk the sophisticated military equipment falling into Iranian hands, leaving behind a final explosion and a plume of smoke. It says the rescue mission that U.S. officials said unfolded in the craggy gorges of southwestern Iran was the kind of operation that military commanders both planned for and dread. A downed American airman in enemy territory, hostile forces converging, and early attempts faltering under fire. So both of them have been rescued. Trump said it was an Easter miracle. It seems like it. You had the CIA involved in a deception campaign trying to convince Iran that we already got him. You had Israeli airstrikes to help in the rescue as well. Now it says troops led by Central Command brought a devastating array of firepower to keep its enemy at bay. 4 B-1 bombers, part of a larger air armada, dropped nearly 102,000-pound satellite-guided bombs. It's according to U.S. officials. MQ-9 Reaper drones also struck suspected fighters as they approached within kilometers of the aviator's hiding site. It's an amazing story. I mean, the movie's going to be great. So the movie of us capturing Maduro, that's going to be a good one when that comes out. And the movie of this, when it comes out eventually, is going to be a good movie. I have to say, it's like right out of Hollywood. It really is. But what is the big picture here? A lot of people in the propaganda press and the Democrats, they're focusing on the fact that this means Iran still has capability to strike enemy the United States aircraft, what they consider enemies. Even though Trump said he basically destroyed all their anti-aircraft technology, obviously some is still getting through. Now, I tend to agree with Dale, what he said in his show. They just got lucky. It happens in war. It seems like their missile barrages, their drone barrages have actually gone down. They don't have the capability nearly like they did at the start of the war here. I think what this really shows is that our military is totally capable of doing its job and doing its job well, whether it's destroying an enemy or whether it's rescuing airmen who have been stranded there. The U.S. military is amazing. So if we end up having a problem in this war in the future, we end up having to leave early or whatever, it's not going to be because of the strength and power and the ability of the U.S. military. If we allow the military to do its job and do its job well, we can get the job done in Iran. So what has been one of the main things that has gotten in our way? Really, if we end up losing this conflict, or I don't think we could totally lose at this point, but not achieving all our goals, what's standing in the way really is popular opinion. The fact is, as justified as this war is, and I think it's justified, it's not the most popular military conflict we've had. You just look at the average poll from Real Clear Politics. I mean, it has 39% approve to 54% disapprove. Now, polls are kind of all over the place. You have to take it with a grain of salt here. But one thing that kind of bothered me from the beginning is while the military is doing a great job, President Trump himself did not do the greatest job at the beginning of really rallying the American people behind this effort. He didn't. Now, he tried to make up for that last week. He did a nightly address, primetime address. And it was fine. There wasn't a lot of new information in it. But when he was giving that address last week, another thing that happened when I was out, my thought was he should have done that at the beginning. That's the time to do it. You have to rally the American people behind this. So if something gets in the way, that's going to be it. The will of the American people to continue on to finish the job. And I don't know where we are in that. A lot of that has to do with, one, the success of the military, which I think is going to be good. But two, the messengers. Trump and his team have to do a better job of rallying the American people to support what is a justified military operation. Got the Alabama bullet points coming up next. Todd Stacy at the bottom of the hour. This is the Yaffee Program.
The Yaffee Program.
It's good to be back here on the Yaffee Program. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. This is what I was meant to do. I just have to say, it was nice spending time with family, helping take care of the kids, but I'm glad to be back. I could not do that forever. I just stay-at-home dad life. So I guess some guys could do it, not for me. Not for me. Just have to say. All right, let's get to some of the Alabama headlines. We have those Alabama bullet points.
Alabama bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Sponsored by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, woke Democrat policies garbage. That was part of Barry Moore's new D.C. garbage ad. So U.S. Representative Barry Moore, who's running for the U.S. Senate, released a new campaign ad titled D.C. Garbage, in which he portrays himself as a literal garbage man ready to take out the trash in Washington. Now, he was dressed as a trash collector. Moore criticizes woke Democrat policies as garbage, citing examples like illegal voting, boys and girls sports, yada, yada, yada. Now, he highlights his real-world experience founding and running BMI Inc., one of Alabama's leading waste, demolition, and removal companies, and notes that he still drives trucks for the family business on weekends. Now, Moore emphasizes that he has spent my life doing real work and pledges to stand with President Trump, fight for Alabama values, and clean up the swamp in D.C. Number 3 today, Congressman Robert Aderholt confirms or condemns Holy Week attacks on Christians in Nigeria. He said no one should face violence and death for their faith. So U.S. Representative Robert Aderholt, chairman of the House Values Action Team, along with several Republican colleagues, issued a strong statement condemning the targeted attacks on Christians in Nigeria. This happened during Holy Week. Now, the statement highlighted a Palm Sunday massacre that happened in part of the country where gunmen killed at least 30 Christians. Adderholt described the violence as part of a tragic, predictable pattern of persecution against Christians on holy days, calling it a moral outrage and stressing that no one should face violence or death because of their faith. The group urged the Nigerian government to significantly increase security in vulnerable Middle Belt areas to protect the right to worship freely. And of course, he's exactly right. It's exactly what they should do. Number 2 today, the Alabama House of Representatives has passed a $3.74 billion general fund budget for 2027, but they say they are bracing for greater challenges ahead. So the House unanimously passed a $3.74 billion general fund budget over fiscal year 2027. They did this last week. The plan represents a roughly 1% increase over the current year's budget and includes a 2% cost of living adjustment for state employees, has additional funding for the Alabama Department of Commerce, and a shift of certain children's health insurance program costs to the Education Trust Fund. Now, lawmakers also set aside conditional reserve appropriations for the general fund and Medicaid. House leaders described the budget as continuing years of conservative fiscal management, while acknowledging greater challenges ahead due to the end of the federal COVID-era funding and rising costs. The bill now returns to the Senate for concurrence or further negotiations. Number 1 today, I know this happened last week, but I had to talk about it. Congressman Dale Strong takes a sort of a veiled jab at Senator Lindsey Graham for going to Disney World during this partial government shutdown. He said in the interview with The Right Side, said our country demands better right now. So U.S. Representative Dale Strong sharply criticized Senate Republicans, especially Senator Lindsey Graham out of South Carolina, for vacating and going down and vacationing to Disney World during a partial government shutdown in early April. The shutdown stemmed from funding dispute over the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and everything else, as you know. He's insisting on full funding to secure the border. Now, Strong argued that cutting support for border enforcement would lead to increased illegal immigration, contrary to what his constituents expect, and would lead to increased... Well, he praised House Speaker Mike Johnson for standing firm against the partial measure, although it seems like now that Mike Johnson has caved a little bit and he supports the Senate package. So we'll have to see how that does in the House. The government shutdown is still happening. Partial government shutdown continues. I don't really care. I'm not one who says that senators should not be allowed to vacation on the weekends because there's always going to be some kind of crisis that we say they have to address before they vacation. But I will admit, when there is a partial government shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security and people are waiting at long lines at airports while they're going on vacation and you just go to Disney World, that does look pretty bad. I just have to say, it doesn't look great. By the way, the bullet points brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. They always have some great deals, speaking of great, especially when it comes to jewelry. So if you're looking for a great deal on maybe some new diamond earrings, I bought my wife, I bought her diamond earrings there before, got it for a great price. Maybe you're looking for other gemstones. Maybe you're looking for rings, maybe a bracelet. They have all kinds of nice jewelry for you in gold, in silver, in white gold, and much, much more. And you're going to get it for a great price. They have same-as-cash financing options for those who qualify. And, of course, yes, you can put the stuff on layaway as well. It's pretty awesome. Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison off Greenbrier Exit 3 by the Big Rusty Water Tower. Go to pistolandpawn.com. That's pistolandpawn.com. Let them know you heard about it from Yaffee.
It's the Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Hey football fans, still a legend Jerome Bettis here. When I think about football in Pittsburgh, I think about tradition, hard work, and moments that last forever. It's a place where the love of the game brings people together. And for the first time ever, the NFL Draft comes to the Steel City. Be there for 3 days of football, and the moment draft dreams are realized. The 2026 NFL Draft, presented by Bud Light, April 23rd to the 25th. Register for free entry at NFL.com/draft access.
Next Roll with Vernon Davis. The transformative journeys of athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs.
Ladies and gentlemen, lights out, Sean Merriman.
I want to be the biggest and the best in what I do. And so whatever it takes, I'll get it done. In business and everything else, all I do is know how to fight and earn what I want.
My man, Malik S. What actor or comedian would you want to collaborate with?
Me, Jamie Foxx, and Kevin Hart in a movie. We said it on Vernon Davis podcast, and so we'll circle back and be like, yep, here go the clip.
Next Roll with Vernon Davis. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
I am back here on the Yaffee program. Don't worry, your voice of reason is back. Glad to be here. By the way, I'm getting texts in already on our Yaffee text line, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. The question of the day, I'd love to get your take on this. Trump said tomorrow is going to be Energy Day or Bridge Day in Iran. Says it's going to bomb the hell out of them if they don't make a deal. So my question for you today, do you think they will make a deal by tomorrow? Or is Trump going to have to bomb them? Now, one person said this, said no deal. Trump will hit their energy infrastructure and occupy Carg Island. I think it's very possible. Another person said, on your question, the underlying beliefs causing these problems haven't changed much since Thomas Jefferson. Basically saying that we're going to have to bomb them. They're not going to make a deal. So we'll talk more about this, but also some Alabama news and politics. Todd Stacy is joining the show. He is the host of Alabama Public Television's Capital Journal, also with Alabama Daily News, which you can read every day at aldailynews.com. Todd, hope you had a good Easter. How you doing today?
Yeah, we had a great Easter. I hosted at my house this year, and we had a great time. Hope you did too.
Great. Yeah, I mean, most of it was at home. We have a new baby at the house, so last week I was just
that's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just at home dealing with that. So, I did want to ask you real quick before we get into Alabama news. Do you think that Iran will make a deal by tomorrow?
No, absolutely not. And I think that's one of the lessons that I've picked up. I'm not a student of Iran or Persian history. I mean, I know enough to be dangerous, I suppose. But one thing that I think we've come to realize, and I would assume the president as well, is, I mean, this is a regime that is beyond what we even kind of think of as extreme. You know, like their fanaticism is so extreme that they would rather die, right? They would rather die than capitulate. I mean, you saw that with the Ayatollah. I mean, that, you know, I'm sure he was given plenty of chances to off-ramp, and certainly was over the decades that we've been in this with them, and he chose martyrdom. His son will have chosen martyrdom too. And so, no, I just don't think that it's in the Iranian conscience, if you will, to pursue anything that is some kind of, you know, concession to the United States. In fact, I think the minute they do that, their calculation is the minute they do that, then they're no longer a regime. They no longer have the power over, you know, the people. And so I just don't think our ideas of like, well, why in the world wouldn't you give up after your country's been bombed into the Stone Age? Because they just don't have the same set of incentives as we do. They don't have the same rational thoughts that we do. It's completely different. And so I would be shocked. I mean, I certainly hope so. I wish they would wake up and realize that this is the 21st century, and, you know, you can't just do the things they've done. But I think we're talking about an enemy that goes way beyond what we saw in Afghanistan, certainly way beyond what we saw in Saddam Hussein. To them, capitulation is worse than annihilation, and so I think that's the tough battle ahead that we have.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Usually, I would say the same thing. The only caveat is I thought the same thing about Hamas, and Trump eventually got a deal with them, you know, to get the hostages back. So maybe it's possible, but you're right. It's very, very difficult to deal with Trump's trying to act a little crazy to get them to make a deal, but how do you act crazier than the Iranians? At least the regime there. I don't think you can. So there you go. I'm speaking with Todd Stacy with Alabama Daily News. Wanted to move on to Alabama politics, of course. The session continues on. Last week, the Alabama House passed the general fund budget. And then I did see that the Senate, I guess, has passed the Education Trust Fund budget. What else is going on? Did you want to react to the budgets?
Yeah, so we're almost finished. I mean, they are, for all intents and purposes, finished, passed through both chambers. Now, they're going to have to come back, because of small changes made. The Senate will need to concur with changes to the general fund. The House will need to concur with changes to the Education Trust Fund. That'll happen in short order. So the budget should be sent to the governor sometime on Tuesday. I'm assuming that sometimes they like to wait. The reason sometimes they like to wait is before the budgets are passed, they have this procedural barrier known as the Budget Isolation Resolution. It's meant to, prompt the legislator to go ahead and pass the budgets. It almost serves as this kind of like in the U.S. Senate, that 60-vote threshold. And so sometimes they like maintaining that because it makes it harder to pass bills. And some people believe, or traditional conservatives believe it should be harder to pass bills. But maybe I'm thinking too much into it. But yeah, the budgets are done. They're in good shape. I mean, when they both pass unanimously in both chambers, I mean, that's saying something. So, no budget drama this year. Maybe some in the years to come, but for now, we're pretty healthy.
Well, yeah, it seems that they're worried about, a lot of the extra money they've been getting is not going to be there in the coming years. Some of it had to do with COVID dollars and the economy doing well, and I guess they're kind of worried. That's why they're putting some away in sort of a rainy day fund, right?
Oh yeah, our rainy day funds are maxed out. They could not have put more money into those accounts over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, you can really go back further than that. So in terms of rainy day accounts, we're as flush as you can be, and I think that's that's been a wise decision by budget leaders to be conservative with it. And what you said about extra money is exactly right. I mean, when you have revenues exceeding what you had forecasted and what you had budgeted for, a long time ago, what Alabama would do is just put those directly into the budgets. Just put them directly into programmatic spending, into line items that, boosted it up. So when that one-time money was gone, then we'd fall into proration. This was like a broken record in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Something happened after that, if you're paying attention. So when they passed the rolling reserve, when they started budgeting conservatively, that came to an end. And so when you say extra money, yeah, there was a ton of extra money that we weren't expecting, a lot of it from the feds, a lot of it trickling down from the feds because a lot of that tax revenue. But it was treated as one-time money, right? It was put in supplemental appropriations packages, treated as one-time money. Now, what's going to happen, we have gotten used to that one-time money. It's nice when you can tell people, yes, I can fund your one-year project. And so a lot of those yeses will turn into no later on when there isn't a $1 billion supplement. Well, this year it did count. It went down to about $500 million in the Education Trust Fund. So when that goes from $500 million revenue we weren't expecting to more like $100 million or less, then yeah, those one-time expenses and the luxuries, if you will be fewer. But I think any conservative would be really pleased if they knew how Republicans in the legislature went about this budgeting process, knowing that all this money was not going to be around forever.
Yeah, only if the federal government worked that way, right? That's kind kind of the main lesson here
Yeah,
today.
you'll be waiting for a while on that one, I'm afraid.
I think you're right on that. Speaking with Todd Stacy, host of Alabama Public Television's Capital Journal. One thing I did want to ask you, there was a poll that came out last week, talked about the fact that maybe it's a dead heat in the U.S. Senate race between Barry Moore, Steve Marshall, and Jared Hudson. Now, Moore is in the lead. He has the Trump endorsement. Do you buy that poll? I mean, do you think it's just because there's still a lot of people undecided? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've run the Alabama poll many times, and I mean, I know the folks behind it, and they have good numbers. So yeah, I agree with your characterization that it's a dead heat. In fact, looking at the numbers, it's a statistical tie between those three at the top, and so it's obviously, looking at Steve Marshall, who had been in the lead, his numbers coming down. That's not a good place to be. But Michael Lowry, the founder of the poll, made a good point in that, originally, you go back to like August when people would poll this race, and his was the only name anybody knew, right? And so some people kind of default to that. They default to the only thing that they know. And so I think he was probably getting a lot of that at the beginning. Now it's a real race because these other candidates, particularly Barry Moore, have been out there advertising. I mean, Moore has the Trump endorsement. He has Club for Growth, spending millions touting that Trump endorsement, and also millions attacking Steve Marshall. But the real thing that surprised me was Jared Hudson. I mean, increasing by 10 points in a month. And that's pretty significant. And I haven't seen exactly what they're doing with advertising. I know I've seen some digital advertising that looks pretty good. So they're clearly in it. It should be taken seriously. I'm going to be interviewing Jared Hudson here soon for Capital Journal. You're going to see a lot more of these candidate interviews. So yeah, dead heat is right, and it also is a reminder that this has always been likely to go to a runoff, and so you're really playing for the playoffs. You want to be in the top two, and there's a lot of basketball to be played, so to speak. So yeah, this is really the race to watch for now.
Okay, there you go. So I heard some people a little skeptical of it, but you seem to think it's legit. I mean, I have no reason to not believe it, honestly. So there you go. Todd Stacy with Alabama Daily News.
A poll.
Yep.
All a poll is a snapshot. There can always be outliers, but I mean, I know these guys. I know the way they work, and I'm comfortable saying, yeah, these are legit numbers.
Yeah, let's see what happens as more polls come out. We'll have to see. Maybe Jared Hudson, he can figure out a way to win, even though he's kind of the underdog. Todd, really appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Yaffee, be good.
You as well. By the way, I want to remind people I am going to be the moderator for a Senate candidate forum next week in Madison. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll give you more details as we get closer. But the North Alabama U.S. Senate Candidate Forum, so all the candidates are going to be there. I'm going to be moderating the debate. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be Tuesday, April 14th. So I'll give you more details, but that's coming up next week in Madison. And I can't wait to ask all the candidates questions, see if maybe even some new polls come out before then. Coming up next, we're going to start with the Sunday news show's recap. Of course, later on, we're going to do What's Trending. I always end the show, with the Yaffee program Rewind. So a lot to get to on the Yaffee program. Stay with us. Back in a sec.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. This is the Yaffee program, Revolution in Common Sense. By the way, I want to thank April Marie Fogel for filling in for me last week. I saw she had some really good guests on the show, so I appreciate that. I was home helping take care of the kids, but I'm back. Thank God. I'm back. I've taken too much time off. It's time to do this because I love doing this. By the way, it's also Monday, so another thing we do is the Sunday news shows recap. Yes, that time of the week where I recap what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. I'm talking Meet the Press on NBC, Face the Nation on CBS, CNN State of the Union, others. So you don't have to watch it. I mean, yesterday was Easter Sunday. Shouldn't be watching the news anyway. Should be celebrating the risen Lord, also spending time with family. But if you want to get caught up, I mean, that's why I'm here. So I'm going to do that. And it doesn't cost you any money to listen to this. What can I say? My public service to you. You're welcome. So in the next hour, we'll do more of the Democratic response because those in the propaganda press and the Democrat Party are still kind of giving the usual responses when it comes to the Iran war. Hakeem Jeffries is out there giving his usual talking points. But I want to talk about real quick where the war is going right, where things are going well. A little bit more optimistic here, so to speak. So retired General Frank McKenzie talked about this. He was on CBS Face the Nation. I wanted to play what he said so far about the war. Play the Frank McKenzie cut for me.
They were not able to find the missing air crewman. Second, they put out a broad appeal to their people to turn him in, reward, asking for all kinds of leads. That does not appear to have been successful. And I think that's maybe a sign of disaffection, don't know. But you can't be happy with that if you're a senior leader in Tehran. They have the ability to inflict damage. They do not have the ability to gain mass effects. And by mass effects, I mean firing many, many dozens of rockets, missiles, or drones. I think that capability has been eroded steadily since this campaign began.
So what he's saying there, two things. One, the fact that the Iranians were not able to rally their own people to help capture the American airmen who were stranded in Iran shows that maybe the people are not with the regime, which could be a good thing. Also, it's a good thing that we had such a successful operation there. And he also said, look, militarily, Iran has been mostly taken out, even with this strike where they were able to hit one jet. Still, I mean, their ability to counterstrike has been greatly depleted, which is a good thing. Now, more sort of good news about the future. Congressman Mike Turner was on ABC this week talking about the latest. Go ahead and play Mike Turner cut one for me, Walker.
If you don't undertake the conflict, if you just step back and watch, as the Obama administration was going to do while Iran became a nuclear power and they became North Korea, we wouldn't be looking at the Strait of Hormuz. We'd be looking at what's having Europe be at risk. You'd have the United States being at risk. You'd have all of our allies, and ultimately the continental United States at risk from Iran.
So I think he's right about that. Just so you know. This is something that the Trump administration should be saying over and over again. That's why we're there. That's why it was necessary. The previous approach of trying to bribe them and be nice to them wasn't working. So I think he's right. Go ahead as well. Play Mike Turner cut two for me.
The straits are going to be open, and it certainly is important to occur. But you can't say, well, as long as the straits are open, we can let them continue to be a power that marches toward being a nuclear power.
By the way, I didn't grab this cut, but I had played Frank McKenzie earlier, retired general. He said we don't really need ground troops to open the strait. And if we did, it's just special forces where they take out the enemy and then they leave. So a couple of optimistic voices when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, the future of the war. And I think I keep reminding people, in the big scheme of things, the war has been going on for a very short period of time. So there's still time to open up the strait, get gas prices down, and if that happens, I think people will rally behind the cause more. But we'll have to see. More of the Sunday News Show's recap. Much more to get to next on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
The countdown is on for the 2026 NFL Draft presented by Bud Light. Catch all 7 rounds, 3 days, live from Pittsburgh, April 23rd through 25th. Watch every pick live on NFL Network, ESPN, and ABC. NFL Network is also streaming with NFL Plus. It all starts Thursday, April 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. Visit NFL.com/draft for more information. Subscription required for NFL Plus. Visit plus.nfl.com for terms.
Full Send Golf.
You guys know how much I really love golf, and I think every week would be dope to post on the Golf Channel. I want to get a lot of guests on here.
Salim's going to take lead. I'm down to be in it. It's not really work to play golf.
Join the party on the golf course.
I was like, let's go to the range.
Oh.
So what are we putting on it?
We said 10K, right?
10K?
All right. We probably bet more than all the other golf channels, right?
10K,
9 holes. Those guys bet for like cookies.
I feel like I'm going to shank it.
This guy's been training like a Navy SEAL when it comes to golf.
I'm very excited. You excited?
Yeah.
Full Send Golf. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Still got the question of the day going on. Want to get your take on the Yaffee text line, 866-494-986, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. You can also email me, Yaffee@WVNN.com. Someone weighed in via email, said, I think Trump will announce that they are in talks with Iran again and is giving them another week or two before bombing. Another red line that passes without action. It's Mike in Madison weighing in, so skeptical. I want to know what you think, though. Trump said the deadline is tomorrow. If they don't make a deal by tomorrow, start bombing their energy infrastructure. I see some senators out there already saying that would be war crimes and telling people to defy orders, which is insane. But tell me what you think. Are we going to have to bomb them, bomb the hell out of them, like Trump said? Or maybe a deal by tomorrow? Tell me in our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. According to the latest news, I know Fox had it at the top of the hour, but Iran says they have not agreed to a ceasefire. Apparently, they also said that Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, will never be the same again. So tell me what you think. By the way, this is the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. You're on Newstalk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. And it's Monday, so let's get to it. Another segment here of the Sunday News Shows Recap. Yes, that time of the week where I recap what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. So you get Sunday off. Yesterday was Easter. You definitely needed Easter off. So my public service to you, I don't accept any taxpayer dollars to do this. It means we continue working, even during government shutdowns. What can I say? What can I say? You're welcome. So as I mentioned in the first hour, Trump's main goal here, why he put out a Truth Social post that was like cussing and everything else at Iran. He's trying to convince the leadership there that he could possibly be crazier than they are, which means he could be crazy enough to do it. Kind of his approach. The problem is the Iranian regime is crazy. They're crazy. It's very difficult to be crazier than them. But I said the same thing about Hamas. And Trump was able to get a deal there to get the hostages back. So I stand by that it's still possible, but time is running out. So I want to play some of the Democratic response here. I know Hakeem Jeffries, who is the House Minority Leader, who is responsible for Department of Homeland Security still being unfunded right now. It's his fault, really. He was on ABC this week talking about the Iran war. Go ahead if you can, Walker. Play Hakeem Jeffries cut 1 for me.
Well, I'm thankful that a second U.S. airman has been rescued heroically by our special forces. And we, of course, continue to pray for the safety, the health, the well-being of all of our men and women who are in uniform in a very dangerous theater of war. Of course, Donald Trump has gotten us involved in this reckless war of choice without any plan, any strategic objectives, and no clear exit strategy. Instead, billions of dollars are being spent every day to drop bombs in the Middle East when Donald Trump, as a candidate, promised to never get us involved in this type of conflict.
Now, my main gripe with Jeffries is he just says talking points. Is there any depth there at all to what he's saying ever? It just seems like he kind of recites the same things over and over again. Oh, it's a war of choice. Okay, we get it. That's what you think. But there you go. Obviously, they're going to be against it. They're not going to admit, though. In public, they're going to say they're glad the airmen were rescued, of course. Go and play Hakeem Jeffries Cut 2 for me.
So you've made it clear you're opposed to the war, but what should the exit strategy be right now?
Well, that's the challenge that, of course, Donald Trump has gotten us into this reckless war of choice without ever clearly laying out the strategic objectives, the plan, how this is designed to actually make life better for the American people. We've seen the exact opposite, particularly as it relates to the dramatic increase in gas prices when we already are dealing with an affordability crisis here in the United States of America. Donald Trump purported to deliver a speech to lay out a case to the American people a few days ago, but he failed dramatically.
Notice he didn't answer the question, by the way. He was asked, okay, well, how do you think we should get out? He didn't answer the question. It was just back to bashing Trump. Fine, I guess that's what the Democrat Party base wants. Go ahead and play. I'm skipping to the next cut, I guess. Go ahead and play cut 3 of Hakeem Jeffries for me.
He is expanding. He's threatening this morning to expand again. He says the Iranians are going to be living in hell if they don't open up the Strait of Hormuz by Tuesday. Is that possible without U.S. ground troops?
Well, certainly there's no circumstance where U.S. ground troops should be sent over to the Middle East. This war is already deeply unpopular for obvious reasons amongst the American people, and the American people are not going to accept ground troops being put into harm's way in this war of choice when there's no clear evidence that it actually is designed to improve our national security interests. Instead, we see a war that continues to escalate. More than a dozen countries are involved, and billions of dollars of taxpayer money are being spent overseas when this administration refuses to actually spend a dime to make life more affordable for the American people.
I'm tired of this line. And there are some on the right that do this too. That by spending money on this war, we're getting rid of the chance we could have used that money for free health care in America. The problem with Obamacare or Medicare for all is not, I know I'm repeating myself, but this is so important. The problem isn't just the cost. The problem is giant welfare programs are bad for the U.S. economy. They're bad for the culture. They're bad for business. Okay? So even now, you can make an argument that we should just spend less, period. That's a little bit better of an argument because it has an effect on inflation. But if we're going to have a talk about government spending, this military operation is a drop in the bucket when it comes to the problem of government spending. It just is. But most people don't think about it that way. Too many people in this country are reliant on government handouts, and they think it's the government's job to just hand out stuff. It's not. But Democrats keep repeating that line over and over and over again. We'll see in the midterms if it's effective. It's possible for a lot of people who come out and vote, it will be effective, unfortunately. Go and play cut 4 of Hakeem Jeffries.
And the president has sent a request for $200 billion in supplemental spending to the Defense Department as well. It's pretty clear Democrats are going to oppose that. Are you concerned that that will undercut the war effort?
Listen, the Department of Defense has been given over $1 trillion within the last year. They have more than enough resources, as far as we can tell, in order to do what is necessary. At the same period of time, Congress has to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. The cost of living in this country is out of control, and Donald Trump promised to actually lower costs on day one. That hasn't happened. In fact, life has become more expensive for the American people because of decisions made by Donald Trump and extreme Republicans in the Congress. The Trump tariffs have increased costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year, as well as on small business entrepreneurs and on farmers throughout this nation. Republicans have refused to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and that has resulted in tens of millions of Americans experiencing dramatically increased health insurance premiums. And now this reckless and costly war of choice is increasing the cost of living on everyday Americans, particularly through gas prices and soon through food prices all across the country in ways that are hurting the American people.
I'm going to talk more about this in a moment. But I don't know, one, when Democrats talk about inflation being a problem, most of the inflation was caused under Joe Biden and Democratic control through too much government spending. So they're right, prices are still too high in some cases, but they have no credibility on that issue. Also the same with gas prices. It is true that the war is having an effect on gas prices. It's also true that Democrats basically wanted $4 to be the new normal under their policies of radical environmentalism, of getting rid of fossil fuels, going to green energy. If Democrats had their way with the Green New Deal and stuff like that, it wouldn't just be $4 a gallon in some areas today. It would be like $6 because of the war and their prices. So they have no credibility when it comes to that either, I'm afraid. At least that's my take. I'm curious what you think. You can weigh in. We have our Yaffee text line, of course. One person weighed in on the question of the day. Been asking people, okay, are we going to have a deal with Iran before tomorrow? Is it possible? You can weigh in 866-494-9866 to 866-494-WVNN, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. One person said, a tax on their water and power infrastructure just hurts the citizens. We're going to have to put boots on the ground and go in and remove these radicals who are in charge. They don't know surrender. They will never make a deal or settlement. They have to be completely annihilated. That's one person's take. I want to get your take as well. Is it possible to make a deal before tomorrow? We'll have to see. We also have more of the Sunday News Show's recap coming up next as well. You're listening to the Yaffee program. Back in just a sec.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Yes, I am back today. Don't worry. Welcome back to the Yaffee program. No, I did not quit and become a stay-at-home dad. I appreciate Steffi being home with the kids. I just have to say, appreciate her even more. It was nice to be with family for a week, but I missed you guys. I missed this, so I'm glad to be back. Also, it's Monday, so it's time for the final segment here of the Sunday News Show's recap. Yes, recapping once again what happened on the Sunday News Talk Show, so you don't have to worry about it. I give you the news, everything you need to know the next day. My public service to you. You're welcome. So we were playing cuts of Democrat Hakeem Jeffries. He was on ABC This Week in the last segment. Got to go on to another Democrat, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, who said some similar stuff, but I had to react to it. Go ahead if you can, Walker. Play Wes Moore cut 1 for me.
Well, even your approval rating appears to have taken a hit in recent days, at least in one survey. And among those who disapproved, they cited raising taxes and fees. There's been some conversation in this state, at least, about possibly waiving the gas tax for a little while. It is one of the higher ones in the country. You say governors can't do much about the gas price. You could conceivably establish a gas price holiday, no?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing that we could do to be able to address gas prices is by stop fighting foreign wars and stop watching gas prices jump up over $1.
So you agree with the president's theory that it'll go back down once the war's over?
No, I disagree, because I think the president still does not have a full articulation as to why gas prices are going up in the first place, or what's going to be necessary or required to be able to bring them down. You know, I think about what we've done here in Maryland to address that, where we've actually...
All right, there you go. So he says there, gas prices, what we need to do to bring them down is to end these wars. And by the way, he was also calling it a forever war. Look, I understand we don't want a forever war. I also understand it's been a month. at least wait a couple of months before you start calling something a forever anything. Anything. Wait a couple of months. Yeah. But when it comes to gas prices, as I mentioned, if the Democrats had their way in the past 20 years, gas prices would be way higher than it is now. Because of their radical environmentalism, they wanted to ban fracking. The reason why we are now a net energy exporter is because of fracking. And yet they wanted to ban that. So I just can't take them seriously on gas prices. And if a deal is made, which I hope there is, gas prices will go down pretty quickly. This is just temporary, even though he wants to call it a forever war. So when we had inflation, they said, oh, that was transitory, even though it wasn't. And now we have a war lasting a month, and they say that's forever. I'm okay. Go ahead and play a Westmore Cut 2 for me, Walker.
Of all this, the president in recent days told the gathering at the White House that in his view, because of the 50 states, quote, it's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. He argues the federal government shouldn't have to pay for those programs because, quote, we have to take care of one thing, military protection.
That's nonsense. And that's not what any of us want. We don't want to be fighting foreign wars while you're taking away our health care.
Could a state even pay for Medicaid and Medicare daycare without federal assistance?
So many of the decisions that this White House is making, they are making with a clear understanding that no state has a budget to say, okay, well, we'll just take on health care or we'll just take on food insecurity. We saw that happen last year when the President of the United States broke the law in order to cut SNAP. In fact, we sued them and we won and we beat him in court on this.
But it sounds like he's going to try again, though.
And he did try again. He actually tried to appeal the fact, through a temper tantrum because because the judges told him that actually, no, you need to pay for food assistance for people. And what we ended up doing is in Maryland, I actually took $63 million out of our fiscal responsibility fund, which is a fund that is made up of capital gains taxes. And I said, well, I'm not going to let the people of my state go hungry because Washington is having a food fight. And so we made sure that SNAP and SNAP benefits were not going to be cut for the people of Maryland. But it is a deeply unfair ask to ask states and or governors, because we do things that the federal government has never done. We actually balance our budgets. And it is an unfair ask to ask us to take on what should be a joint responsibility because the federal government has decided to stop doing its job.
All right. So much to unpack here. But he made the same argument that Hakeem Jeffries made, that we should instead be spending money on free healthcare instead of wars. Look, national security, protecting our rights, that is the main job of the federal government. That was the main reason why we decided to form a federal government in the first place at the founding of this country. It was not for giant welfare programs. So if you're against the war, fine. But to say you're against it so we could spend all that money on welfare programs, it's not a good argument to me. And yet they keep making that argument. But also he talked about how, he literally believes it's the federal government's job to do a lot of this stuff. Even the states can't do it. It's the federal government's job. This is so backwards. It's completely backwards on what the federal government is actually supposed to be doing. It is one of the main problems, and Democrats can't get out of their own way on this. Republicans can't either, but if you believe the main job of the federal government is to provide things like free health care, whatever kind of handout there is, we have a serious problem, and we're not going to be able to deal with the debt thing, and it's not because of the U.S. military and this war in Iran. By the way, the question of the day I've been asking people, you can weigh in on the Yaffee text line, of course, 866-494-9866. Brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. Been asking, do you think a deal will be made by tomorrow? Or is Trump going to have to bomb the hell out of them? As he said, is tomorrow going to be Bridge Day and Energy Day? One person said this, I think we'll probably go in with a tactical ground mission of some kind at the Strait of Hormuz if no deal is reached. Let's talk about that and also occupying Carg Island. We'll have to see. So I want to know what you think. I think it's kind of a long shot we have a deal, but Trump has done pretty good deals before, so we'll have to see. Going to move on to What's Trending with Walker coming up next. Always end the show with the Yaffee program Rewind. You are listening to the Yaffee program. We'll be back.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Vince Colonnese is redefining news talk with The Vince Show.
It is a reflection of your response to this program that we get to take this thing to the next level. These gigantic shows. This is going to be so much fun. It's unbelievable.
In-depth interviews, live caller interactions, and a front row seat to the most important conversations of the day.
I've got updates. I've got big stories. We'll sort through the truth of what's really going on. So buckle up. Here it comes.
The Vince Show. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Welcome back. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. I am Alabama's truth czar. This is Huntsville's disinformation board. Still weighing in. Lots of people weighing in on our question of the day here. Is there going to be a deal between Iran and us and Trump? Or is Trump going to have to, and I'm quoting him, bomb the hell out of them? I'll have to see, but I want to get your take on our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. 866-494-WVNN. Right now, we got to move on to some other things, though. Walker is here today producing, so let's do it. We have What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
Do you guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Yes, and it is once again sponsored by Coleman Furniture Market, located in the heart of Coleman, Alabama. Drive today if you need some new, furniture. I mean, most of the furniture in my home is from Coleman Furniture Market for a reason. So I spent a lot of time on my Lazy Boy recliner last week holding a baby. He liked it. I like it. You'll like it too if you get one at Coleman Furniture Market. Plus, you'll like the price because they have the best prices. So the best brands and the best prices. They always sponsor What's Trending because they always have the latest trending in furniture. So find out more at ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. You can always like their Facebook page and Instagram page to see some of the latest stuff. They get new stuff in all the time. Their inventory changes all the time. Coleman Furniture Market. When you go and save some money, get some great furniture, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, Walker, what is number 5 today?
Number 5 today, Bruno Mars has done a collab with Hello Kitty, of all things.
That's not what I expected you to say. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yes, the romantic tour will have some pop-up shops at select locations with exclusive merch showing Hello Kitty with a Bruno Mars character drawn in a similar style.
So is it just selling T-shirts and stuff? It's not like an actual concert, or is it like...
Well, this is on Bruno Mars' tour.
Okay, so they're selling it at the concert.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me.
Yes, there are hoodies, hats, bags, water bottles.
People will buy it.
Absolutely. It's already on eBay.
As crazy and dumb as it sounds, people love it. Smart business, I have to say. I'm not going to lie there. I will say, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it is very cute, but it just does not make sense to me to join these two things.
Yeah, I don't understand why. Maybe it's like a new trend with bands in general. Maybe they'll do it with like other bands, Metallica and Hello Kitty. Is that coming?
I would love to see that.
I was going to say Bruno Mars was one of the better Super Bowl halftime shows. So I'm not like a fan or anything, but I did enjoy that halftime show, I have to say. All right, what's number 4?
Number 4, Savannah Guthrie has returned to the Today Show.
I saw that. That's definitely big news. Obviously, people praying for her. She said it was good to be home. I can't even imagine what she's going through.
Yeah, me
in
either.
Any way.
And it seems like people were wearing yellow, including Savannah herself. Yellow ties, yellow dresses, yellow pens.
I mean, I'm guessing for her, it's kind of a good thing. You know, when you go through something like that, you almost want to go back to work to get your mind off of it, you know, to focus on other things. But I can't, because her mom is still missing. We still don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. I don't know what I would do.
I don't think anyone really knows until they go through it. Like you just can't. You know, people are going to react differently. But yeah, she was on the Today Show today. She had an Easter message yesterday. I mean, just heart-wrenching stuff. I just hopefully we can find out something eventually. But man, it seems like this is going to be unsolved for much longer than we thought, which is just crazy to think about. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3, have you seen Project Hail Mary yet?
I did.
I thought that movie was so good.
It was great.
And it's interesting because usually movies that are that long tend to feel very drawn out, but I felt like it was paced very well.
So I will say there was one part of the movie where I thought it was ending, and then they added like a kind of another part to it. I don't want to give it away, but I will. There was a part of me that thought maybe it could have ended just a little bit sooner. That would be like my only criticism of that movie, because the movie was great. I mean, I loved it a lot.
It is the highest grossing Amazon MGM Studios release of all time.
And I can see why. I mean, one, I have said for years that I thought Ryan Gosling was the most overrated actor in Hollywood. He was really good in that movie.
Yes, I thought he was great.
He doesn't usually get to play that kind of character. So I think he was able to, like, I don't know, come out of his shell a little bit in terms of acting, which I think is good for him. The story was great. You know,
I thought
wasn't really
visually
any political messages, and visually, yeah, it was good as well.
Yes.
So the only thing, it still seems very far-fetched to me. You know, even though the author really bases it in real science. I bet in the book it makes a little more sense because you get some of the details where they had to kind of skip over some of those details, the scientific details.
I thought it was realistic enough.
But yeah, it wasn't like, I mean, it wasn't that far-fetched. In terms of a space movie, it was pretty realistic. But it was a great movie. I mean, I was expecting it to be good, and it was better than I expected.
Yeah, that was the same experience for me.
Yeah.
Because I really liked The Martian.
Yeah, same author of the book. It's a different director, I think, right? But they're both based on books by the same author. I know that.
Yeah, definitely the same author.
And The Martian is a good movie, too. I liked this better than The Martian.
Me too. I just know that if people I would say if you liked The Martian, you will love Project Hail Mary.
I agree. And it's good for the whole family, basically. It was good. I was glad I got to see it in the theater. I was wondering if I would be able to because, been busy, but I had a chance and it was really good. All right. What is number 2?
Number 2, somehow Super Mario Galaxy has managed to top Project Hail Mary in their opening weekend.
Well, you mean top it for this week, basically?
Well, it did better in its opening weekend than Project Hail Mary did.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That does kind of surprise me, although it probably has a wider audience because you're going to get a lot of kids
probably
to see that movie.
Because Project Hail Mary had an $80 million opening weekend, and this has had a $190 million opening weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it has a couple of benefits. One, everyone knows what Mario is. 2, you're going to get a wider age range. So those 2 things right there are going to benefit. I have a well, I don't know. I was going to say, it seems like Project Hail Mary, though, is staying longer, if that makes sense. Like, because I went last week and the theater was still kind of busy, and this theater is like never busy. So I was, so I think it could stay doing well for a while. I don't know about Mario. I would assume probably for the reasons I cited, but I liked the first movie, but I don't really have much of an interest in seeing this one. I just don't care enough. Other stuff I'd rather see, honestly.
Yeah, it's not something I ever imagined becoming a movie. I just really thought that the games were cool.
Right, yeah. Like they did a pretty good job with the first one. You know, if Evie were older or Izzy, my son, were older and they wanted to go, I wouldn't mind. But it's not something like I really want to go see or anything like that. All right, what's number one today?
Number one today, I don't know if you saw it while you were gone. Kit Kat had 12 tons of their bars stolen.
Really?
Yes, and people are having a time with making jokes about it. Someone said, "First day working at Kit Kat, give me a break."
See, a bunch of dad jokes already out there.
Yeah, and even companies have made jokes about it. For example, Domino's said, "We would like to share our thoughts and condolences with Kit Kat following their recent sad news. On a completely unrelated note, we are pleased to announce that we will now be selling a new Kit Kat pizza."
That's good. Although a Kit Kat pizza does not sound good.
Not really.
I do like. Do you like Kit Kats?
I love Kit Kats. They used to be my favorite.
Really, it's not something I get a lot, but when I get it, I always enjoy it. So I don't know. I like the white chocolate ones too. Those are pretty good.
Yeah, and I really like the dark chocolate mint ones as well.
I didn't even know they had that. It sounds good, actually. Dark chocolate. Do they have so it's dark chocolate and mint together?
Yes.
Do they have dark chocolate without mint? Maybe I don't know. They probably have a bunch of flavors.
I'm not sure if they have just one or the other.
Usually for me it's Halloween. You know, that's when you get the Kit Kat bars for some reason, the little ones.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the witch's brew. I think
exactly. All right, Walker. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Good job. We'll be back with the Yaffee program rewind here in just a moment on WVNN.
The Yaffee program.
We're back here on the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM. WVNN. Glad you're joining the show today. If you miss any of the show live, by the way, the podcast will be up on the website, WVNN.com, or anywhere you get your podcast. Subscribe, tell your friends, all that good stuff. In fact, let's end the show like we usually do. We have the Yaffee program rewind. All right. And, at the beginning of the show, I really just talked about what I missed while I was gone last week. A lot happened. You had a mission to the moon, which is they're supposed to go around the moon today. So that's a big deal. And that's the one issue, the one thing that can unite the country, apparently, because a lot of people on both sides celebrating it, on all sides celebrating it. So that's pretty cool. The government shutdown continues on. An amazing rescue of airmen in Iran that happened over the weekend. You have Trump's speech on Iran, which I thought was fine. It was just too late. Should have been done pretty much at the beginning, not now. In Alabama, you have the general fund budget passed. So the session is almost over. You also have new polls where it shows a dead heat in the Senate race, which is pretty crazy. You would think Barry Moore would be much further ahead with the Trump endorsement, but there you go. So we talked about all of that. Oh, you also had the economy doing better. So there's a lot. Pam Bondi was fired. So a lot happened when I was gone. Now, I had mentioned what President Trump had said, and I've been asking you throughout the show, and you can weigh in still on the Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. But I mentioned basically that Trump said tomorrow could be Energy Day or Bridge Day when we bomb Iran's infrastructure to get them to make a deal. He wants them to make a deal now. Is it possible? Now, he had put out that Truth Social post, and he was cussing and everything else, got criticized for that and doing it on Easter, whatever. But I understand his strategy, that when it comes to this stuff, Trump's strategy is to be a little crazy. Because he wants the enemy to think, his adversary in any situation to think, he just might do it. And you have to be a little extra crazy when dealing with Iran because, well, they're crazy. The regime there's crazy. They're nuts. They're ideologues. They're religious fanatics. And that's the problem. Can you really be crazier than them? I'm not sure it's possible. But as I mentioned, I said the same thing about Hamas, and we were able to get a deal with them. So it's possible with Trump. I also think, everything that happened over the weekend with the airmen being rescued, our military is amazing. It really is. If we fall short in the effort in Iran, it's not because of the military. It's because it's just not, it's the will of the American people. And you look at the polls right now, it's still not a very popular war. And with all the credit I give to Trump and the military, Trump did not do a great job rallying the American people behind this effort, especially in the beginning. You got to do that when you're talking about a war like this. And he didn't do a great job. And I don't know if it's because he thought it would be over very quickly. It's part of his chaos theory. I don't know. But it's one thing I wish he would have done better in the beginning to make it a little more popular so the American people really understand why we're doing this. I think it's justified. I really do. I'm with Trump on that. So we talked about that at the beginning of the show. If you missed it, the podcast is up on the website, anywhere you get your podcasts. Also posted on social media. So you want to like the Yaffee Facebook page. Follow me on X at Yaffee. Always posting great stuff there. We had the Alabama bullet points, the top stories from around the state, including we talked about Barry Moore's new Senate ad where he founded a trash company. So he says he's a garbage man taking out trash in D.C. It's a pretty good ad, actually. So I wrote about it at yellowhammernews.com. You can check it out there, but I had it in the bullet points. Then we spoke with Todd Stacy with Alabama Daily News. We talked about Iran. We talked about the latest in the session with the budgets being passed. We talked about the latest polls in the Senate race. And, he thinks they're probably legit and they're a big deal. If Jared Hudson is in a dead heat with Barry Moore and Steve Marshall, that's a pretty big deal. But a lot of people are undecided, so we had talked about that. I did the Sunday News Shows recap today where I recap what happened on those Sunday News talk shows so you don't have to watch them. It's my public service to you, as you know. I played some cuts, unfortunately, of Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. And in fact, I want to react to that again. So as a reminder, go ahead if you can, Walker. Skip down to cut 2. Play cut 2 of Maryland Governor Wes Moore for me.
Of all this, the president in recent days told the gathering at the White House that in his view, because of the 50 states, quote, it's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. He argues the federal government shouldn't have to pay for those programs because, quote, we have to take care of one thing, military protection.
That's nonsense. And that's not what any of us want. We don't want to be fighting foreign wars while you're taking away our health care.
Could a state even pay for Medicaid and Medicare daycare without federal assistance?
So many of the decisions that this White House is making, they are making with a clear understanding that no state has a budget to say, okay, well, we'll just take on health care or we'll just take on food insecurity. We saw that happen last year when the President of the United States broke the law in order to cut SNAP. In fact, we sued them and we won and we beat him in court on this.
But it sounds like he's going to try again, though.
And he did try again. He actually tried to appeal the fact, through a temper tantrum because because the judges told him that actually, no, you need to pay for food assistance for people. And what we ended up doing is in Maryland, I actually took $63 million out of our fiscal responsibility fund, which is a fund that is made up of capital gains taxes. And I said, well, I'm not going to let the people of my state go hungry because Washington is having a food fight. And so we made sure that SNAP and SNAP benefits were not going to be cut for the people of Maryland. But it is a deeply unfair ask to ask states and or governors, because we do things that the federal government has never done. We actually balance our budgets. And it is an unfair ask to ask us to take on what should be a joint responsibility because the federal government has decided to stop doing its job.
So I just want to say, reacting to that, one, it shows that he's a Democrat who believes it's the federal government's job to do so much in our lives, and that's the problem. National security, the military, is the main job of the federal government, not to create giant welfare programs that the states are completely dependent on. But I guess that's not going to change anytime soon. Appreciate you listening. The podcast is up. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. See you then.
The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Hi, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, host of the Stacking Benjamins podcast.
Most economists agree a small amount of inflation is actually good. 2% is what you're going for. So why is everybody freaking out?
Oh, because it's the fallout. People don't track their budget. You have this slow slipping that happens every month until all of a sudden you go, man, I don't have any money. The reason is now two people go to a restaurant. The bill is $60 for two.
Two guys walk into a restaurant.
They start screaming. Isn't that hilarious?
$60. Ah!
Stacking Benjamins. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.